Welcome into the doors of psychic experience and star people. Thank you for tuning in. Ask and you will be given what you asked for. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. For everyone who asks receives. Anyone who seeks finds. If only you will knock, the door will open, and the truth within your higher self will be revealed to you. Come with us now and go with us where angels come, and so can you.
Welcome to our show, Psychic Experience and Star People, presented by the First Spiritualist Church in the City Heights area of San Diego, 1 block south of University Avenue, where angels come and so can you any Sunday. We've made a little bit of a change here. We're now doing our production at Time Warner. So this is show number 134, Time Warner, show number 4. I am Reverend Doris Horvath, the co-producer and host. The contents of this show are metaphysical, spiritual, and educational. If you're looking for a church that has unusual vibrations, the First Spiritualist Church may be your answer. We have a very different approach to religion. We believe in life after death and continuation and communications with spirit after death. Our church is also a healing and teaching church. Every Sunday morning we offer aura healing, spiritual music, and interesting and enlightening lectures, followed by spiritual psychic messages. And in the afternoon we have a delicious lunch, workshops, classes, Reiki healing, and more. If you're looking for something different, then you're looking for something different in the wrong place. If it may be one of the fundamental churches, this may be your answer to go in a new direction. We also have a children's lyceum each first Sunday morning, beginning at 10:45 a.m. and ending right after the worship service. You can come see us any Sunday morning in the City Heights area of San Diego. You can look in the telephone number to find the phone number for our church, or else you can wait to the end of the show and write down the phone number given at the very end of the show in the credits. Now, we are a very spontaneous show. We have guests that are metaphysical, spiritual, who are here to help those in the audience learn something that they're curious about. Our special guest this evening is Reverend Larry LaRue, and I'm going to introduce him here. Give me a chance to say hello to the audience, and then I'm going to tell you what he has in his bio. So just say hello to the audience.
Good evening.
Okay. Now I'm going to read for you a bio for Reverend Larry. Larry has been studying, working, and teaching in the field of spiritual development since 1972. In completing his bachelor's and master's studies by 1977, then continuing his education, earning a doctorate in human development in 1980. In 1977, he founded Concepts in Human Development, a nonprofit spiritual organization specializing in holistic health, education, and research. Larry is executive producer at New Concepts Productions, an educational video production company focused on bringing a broader understanding of man's spiritual development and place in the universe. Reverend Larry has lectured at the First Spiritualist Church and more recently at the well-known Harmony Grove, a spiritualist association in Escondido. Now, Larry, is it okay if I ask you some questions so our audience will get to know a lot more about you than just your bio?
Certainly, Reverend Doris.
Okay. So, Larry, Tonight, you say that we're going to take a look at your higher self. What is so important about your higher self that you can tell us?
Well, the most important thing is everybody has one. It's something that you are born with, that you work with and develop your entire life, and that it's a piece of who and what you are as a human and spiritual being. As man has learned to look at a different position for himself in the universe, he sees a much bigger picture than he used to. And if you look at something like the Big Bang as a theory as to how things got started, you'll note that everything in the universe then has been created out of the original matter. And since the people on this planet have been created out of the chemical energy, the chemical products of the planet itself, and they all share the same genetic codes at the base level. The only difference comes at a higher level. Then we're all linked together genetically, chemically, atomically, and universally. So all turns out to be one. So what it actually shows you is that mankind as a whole is a unit as a whole. The individual themselves separates themselves from the whole only through their personality. And they come back to themselves once they get centered again to their spiritual being.
A lot of people are asking this kind of a question, and I'm sure that no one's going to be surprised if I'm going to ask you what you think about this. So how does the date 2012 come into play?
Well, technically it's a reference point in time. The Earth moves on its axis. It's tilted at 23 degrees, and that axis helps create the seasons that we have. It also connects to an elliptical orbit that creates different quadrants. There's what they call an equinox and a solstice position at 4. They have a summer equinox, a summer solstice, a winter equinox, and a spring and autumnal. I messed that up. I apologize. There's a summer solstice, winter solstice, spring equinox, and fall equinox. What happens at that point in time is that as the sun is the center of our solar system, our planet is tilted, and as it moves through the system, in the distance, it passes through the different levels of the plane of the ecliptic, the different astrological signs. And from a degree standpoint, every 72 years, it moves backwards 1 degree. And it takes 26,000 years for it to make a complete revolution. During this process, the universe itself and our solar system goes through its series of changes of season as well. It's the equinoxes and the solstices that create the seasons, that allow spring to happen, summer, fall, and then winter. As that comes together within our planet, it happens at a larger scale. As I said, all is one. The universe is one place. So what actually happens at that moment in time is that as it goes through its cycle and as it moves through as it needs to, what you'll find is that over the last 6 billion years, that 26,000 year cycle has happened over and over and over again. So from the standpoint of it actually creating or destroying the world or changing things at that level, it's nothing new. What changes is the seasons within the system itself. You see, the springtime on this planet brings new beginnings, new understandings. The summer develops it and works it into what it's going to be. The fall changes as the season does, moves us into winter, into a dark period where there's clouds and storms and heavy energy. If you were to look at the actual ecliptical orbit of the planet, our planet, in relationship to the ecliptical plane, we're coming out of what would be considered a winter solstice and moving in to a springtime equinox. What that's actually going to do is take us out of a dark era and bring us into an era of light and understanding, so that people will be able to identify with who and what they are as part of the universe in a much different manner.
Well, in talking about the darkness, what did the darkness of this winter cause?
Well, if you look back at a series, if you were to look at the darkness itself of winter, there's storms, there's problems, there's suppression. What we're coming out of is the last 2,000 years of darkness and suppression, to where man was pretty much held down by his ignorance and his lack of understanding. And whether it had to do with religion or government or just educational circumstances, the suppression was there. As it's changing and moving forward and coming into spring, that heavy energy is shifting just like the seasons shifted as they move through. What also happens is spiritually there's a collective consciousness around the planet that has to go through the seasons just as the planet does itself. So the collective consciousness and the incarnate beings here on the planet were going through what we consider a dark period. As they come out the other side, this energy shifts, lightens up, and a different relationship to the universe begins.
When we come out of that time, which you call the darkness, what is the springtime then of the planet?
Well, the springtime, what it is just like any springtime, it's new beginnings. But what you're finding out is what people have looked at in the past is traditional, whether it's government or religion, are transforming. Before, religion was a structure through which ideas were put on a table and rigidly looked through so that they had to be adhered to. It was called a dogma. What's happening in the shift and the change is with new understanding, with education, with a new relationship to the universe, so to speak, and an awareness of your higher self, they're beginning to find out that that interaction that they have within themselves and their higher selves is becoming the new religion of the future.
Okay. So then how does our higher self come into play?
Well, your higher self comes into play at an individual level. We're all part of this collective, but at the same point in time, as an individual, we have a personality as ourselves, but we can reach back into our higher selves, go in within yourself, and tap into the universal source. 2,000 years ago, as we were moving into the dark era, Christ came and gave us a couple of different examples of what needed to be done to get through it. For example, when he was asked, where was the kingdom of heaven? He said, lo, the kingdom of heaven was within you. When he was asked, how do you pray? He said, go into your closet and be still. What he was trying to do, knowing fully that we were going through a dark period, was to tell people where they could go to find solitude, where they could go to find their connection to God and their higher self and their being.
Okay. I know that going into the closet to pray works. I had some miraculous things happen doing that.
Good.
What can we do as individuals to access our personal power?
Well, the whole idea of any individual and the understanding is that if you can pull back into yourself and connect with your higher self, you get centered. Your perspective of what is going on around you changes and shifts. There is nothing that you can do in this world that you can't do better if you're centered, if you're on purpose within yourself. Suddenly what happens is you're able to draw on an energy that's you, your higher self. It gives you insight and understanding, perception that wasn't there before. So as an individual, you can utilize it and work with it. So as you relax on a daily basis, go into your closet and be still, as Christ would say, you start to identify with that aspect of your higher self. The more you do it, the more easy it becomes until it starts to become part of a routine that you understand and flow with. Little by little, it starts to become part of your personality, and you bring that centered energy out into this dimension, into this world. So what it really does is bring out your personal power.
Okay. And how does our mind and dimensional world come into play with all of this?
Well, excuse me, would you repeat that?
How does our mind and the dimensional world come into play?
Thank you. The mind, so to speak, is your door, is your access to the conscious awareness. It is your link to your spiritual self. The universe itself, as it comes into play in the dimensional worlds, is that we're in a tangible world. and this world is physical. But at the same point in time, most of your experience as a human being and as a spiritual being takes place in an intangible world. All the different powers that really mean something in the world basically are intangibles. There's nothing that's moved more mountains than love, or struggled more with people than hate and fear, or that has given more people a chance to move beyond than inspiration, none of which are physical or tangible. They're all intangibles. They're all connected into your higher consciousness, your mind, and the dimensional world where you draw on that energy through your higher self.
There's an old cliche, what you see is what you get. How does this come into play?
Well, what you see is what you get is an interesting set of circumstances. It isn't what you're looking at that matters at all. It's what you see. Each of us is an individual. Each of us has our own perception, our own understandings, our own lesson plan, our own ideas. Two people can look at exactly the same thing and see something totally different. I'll give you an example. I was helping a friend move. They were packing up things. Their mother was moving off into a rest home, and so they were going back and collecting things that had been theirs for years, but they hadn't seen in a long time. And I came across this really scruffy, kind of torn-up teddy bear with one eye missing. It was really raggedy. And I looked at it, and I kind of smiled and went, well, teddy bear. And as soon as I showed it to her, you could watch her face just shift and change. Suddenly, just seeing that bear brought out from her a totally different experience, a memory of the past, touching who and what it meant to her as a person. What I saw was a scruffy teddy bear. What she saw was a moment in time for herself. Two people looking at exactly the same thing, seeing something totally different.
That's really true. I was in a portrait painting class years ago, and after the class was over, my teacher took my hand and walked it around with me. He says, now I want you to look and see. This model over here has been painted by 5 different people. None of the pictures of this woman looked like her at all. It was all different. It was how they perceived her and how they saw her. I really was amazed at the big difference of how people perceive how different it can be. And I never forgot that. Now, how does the world around you change? A lot of people aren't really aware of all these changes, but for someone that is aware, how does the world around you change?
What really happens is the world around you, outside you, doesn't change at all. It stays the same, and it moves through its own process of evolution. What truly changes is what you perceive the world to be, where you can come from your higher self and connect with an objective point of view, where you can tap in and draw on the universal source, feel your connection to God, when you can look past what's in front of you right here and see beyond it so that you see something that is more than that. When you look at something, you don't see the superficial, but you see what's behind it. And once that shift has taken place, the world has changed completely for you. Whether it's someone else or how they do or what they do, you can't say, but the world changes for you at that moment in time.
It reminds me of when my children were growing up. I would tell them something like, if someone is acting differently than you think they should, you need to realize the fact that to that person, that's their real world, and that what they're experiencing is only happening in their own mind.
That's exactly it. The whole world for you is within your being, and my world is within mine. And that's the ability that each person has to change their position, to change their relationship to the world, and to change their experience of the world. Change your mind, and you change your world.
Because it's really your world you're expressing, and
Exactly.
You're experiencing and you're showing to others. What do we have to look forward to in the years to come?
Well, the difference is that if you have the ability to connect with your higher self, and you don't have to find a link to the universe, to God, to whatnot outside yourself, but you can come back within yourself. You have a totally different perception. You start to see from this point of view. The more people that see that, the more the world shifts, simply because the perception of the world changes. It allows you to get past so much of the resistance and struggle that goes on around you. It allows you to transform and change so many pieces of your life for yourself. An interesting thing is, someone brought up the other day about fear and how it created problems for everyone. And the interesting thing is, fear doesn't create problems for anyone. Fear is your friend. It's resistance to fear that creates the problems, that creates the struggle, that creates the circumstance that needs to be overcome. So your perception of it makes all the difference in the world.
Do you feel that there are people in our world here who have a certain amount of fear about 2012 because of all the things that have been said about it?
Well, what they're going to find is that 2012, more than anything else, simply means change. However, one of the scariest things in the world for most people is change. It means that they have to let go of an established position. So many times the walls that held you in also held you up. And when they start to go away, there's an uneasiness that takes place during that period of time. So it's that transition that creates the uneasiness and the fear that possibly something could go wrong, or it wouldn't be right, or whatever, even though during this transition they start to understand and see something that was much, much broader, greater, and more tremendously spiritual than they've ever experienced before.
I myself don't think anything different is going to happen on December the 21st, 2012. I just really feel like that maybe the Mayan calendar had to stop because there wasn't anyone left who was a scribe. And maybe they had to stop because there wasn't anyone to do it anymore.
It was sort of a typo.
No one wanted to do it. It was too hard.
I can understand that.
Every time I tell someone that's not an aware person, they get mad at me. But what do you think is going to happen in 2012? Anything?
I think that what you're really going to see is, on the day itself, you're going to see a little bit of the day will get in the morning and it'll move on. The change is actually taking place 50 years ahead of that date and 50 years past. The things that you've seen in the last 50 years, you've watched rioting in the streets turn into blood in the streets, turn into transformation, where one man's demand to be understood and respected as a man put another one in the White House, exactly the same color. You watched how women were looked at as suppressed and held back. They couldn't get equal employment. They couldn't get paid the same. They couldn't express themselves. They couldn't even buy a house. And look right now. One was almost president. She's Secretary of State. They run companies, executive positions of top organizations in Fortune 500 companies today. If that's not change and shift, what is? The opportunity to allow different people the chance to be who and what they are. And as those opportunities come, the ability to draw on that higher self, to be able to center yourself and bring it out, is your identity, and it becomes your base for adhering to and obtaining your own personal power.
I remember when I bought my first house in Encinitas, I believe it was 1984. I thought I just did the most magnificent thing in the world. I bought it by myself, and I was really proud of myself.
It is really quite an accomplishment.
Proved to me that I could do it. So since then, I've bought 4 different houses. So this goes up to show. Do you have a very interesting story that you'd like to tell us?
This is a metaphysical group, and I'll share a quick one with you because we're short on time.
Because we only have about 2 minutes.
I can remember going to apply for a job, I went to a reading from a psychic who told me I was going to go apply for a job and get a job working for a tall, slender man with graying hair wearing glasses. And at that point in time, I kind of looked at them and said, well, okay. Well, what happened is I applied for 2 other jobs that had nothing to do with it, got a referral, walked in the door, and the next thing I knew, I was talking to a tall, slender man wearing glasses with graying hair. It was identical to what had happened. This was my very first experience at all. And the funny thing was I was trying to actually do an interview at the same time and figure out where I was. That do 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 from Twilight Zone was going through my head.
Well, we have 1 minute left. Thank you so much for sharing with us on our show. And I want to thank the crew for all their help. And please look at the credits at the end of the show if you want to get the phone number that you can call me. And I'll make sure that you get, if you would like to have it, Reverend Larry's phone number if you'd like to talk to him some more. So remember the First Spiritualist Church where angels come, and so can you any Sunday. We're always there to serve you. And I want to say God bless all of you for watching. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'd like to say goodbye for now. And thank you all very much. God bless. And bye-bye for now.